وطني وتقول لا لا لزول مادة يقدم جاب. أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا للبساط. أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا لزول مادة يقدم جاب. ولا لو يهود بيجي البطور يشيل غدا ويشيل عجاب. أبقى راجل وتقول لا لا وتقول جاب. ولا لو يهود بيجي البطور ويشيل غدا ويشيل عجاب. أبقى راجل وتقول لا لا وتقول جاب.
Pretty good.
أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا للبساط. أبقى راجل ونكون وطني
Good morning, Brother Peter.
يقدم جاب. أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا للبساط.
يا هلا.
أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا لزول مادة يقدم جاب. ولا لو يهود بيجي البطور يشيل غدا ويشيل عجاب. أبقى راجل وتقول لا لا وتقول جاب. ولا لو يهود بيجي البطور ويشيل غدا ويشيل عجاب. أبقى راجل وتقول لا لا وتقول جاب. تجلني قوار يا أبي الويل أسبيع لما جن زمان قلبك مجبور كمو ميدكويكا ميدكا ويدكور جالغام قوايا أبي الويل أسبيع لما جن زمان قلبك مجبور كمو ميدكويكا ميدكا ويدكور جالغام قوايا أبي الويل أسبيع لما جن زمان قلبك مجبور كمو ميدكويكا
Share it. Share it, please. Good. morning, good evening, good afternoon, concerned citizen of South Sudan, of course, going live today. It is Sunday here in the United States, August 22nd, 2021, with a very important message tonight, declaration of formation of grand coalition of non-violence political forces for a regime change in South Sudan. الائتلاف للقوى العريض السياسية لتغيير السلمية تغيير النظام السلمي في جنوب السودان. ده هيكون حوارنا اليوم. This is what we are going to discuss tonight. Go ahead and share whatever you tune in tonight. And please remember, as usual, we agree to disagree, but we do not condone any vicious attack, derogatory language in this forum. You are welcome to disagree with us, but we do not condone any insult whatsoever. Tonight, as I said, we'll be talking about this declaration of the formation of grand coalitions of non-violence political forces for regime change in South Sudan. So we will join by members or chairpersons of this organization. We will have people coalition, civil for action. We'll have Ustaz Rajab Muhandis, and also we will have for United Citizen for Change, we will have Ustaz Dengdir Ayog, Director of Political Mobilization, will join us as well. And also we will have Dr. Matur Garjok Gak, National People Movement, will join us here momentarily in the studio. And also Mr. Mabor Gordon Matot Tut, the chairperson or the chairman of Red Card Movement. All these various leaders, they will join us here tonight. And then we will ask a question, what it means for signing this or forming a declaration of grand coalition for non-violence political forces for regime change in South Sudan. So let me go ahead. I do see that Dr. Matur actually is staging here on the studio. I wanted to bring him, and then we can start our program. And I am expecting the other colleagues also to join here, so we can start this very, very important discussion tonight. Let me go ahead. Dr. Matur Gak, welcome to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. This is the first time ever to have you on the program.
Yeah,
and please, I want to give you a few minutes to greet our viewers before we proceed here for the question of today, the declaration of a coalition for regime change in the Republic of South Sudan. I yield the microphone to you.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Jonkur, and thank you so much for hosting me and all of us on your show. We really appreciate that. I greet all our people across the world in diaspora and back home. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you might be. Yeah. It's me, Matur Gak, the leader of the NPM, and I'm here tonight to talk to you.
Well, I really, really appreciate it for coming on to do this together. And we have been, like I said, persisting and resisting. Our country is going in a wrong direction. It's been for a very long time. And that's why it is necessarily for a non-violent political movement to put their hand together for an uprising, which is, we set up a date, August 30th, for an uprising for a regime change. Now, Dr. Matur Gak, declaration of the formation of grand coalition of non-violence political forces for a regime change. You signed on the 20th of this month, which is 2 days ago. What does that mean, this declaration? What does it mean to the people of South Sudan? What it mean to all entire people who are watching here tonight? And what it mean to you as well?
Yeah, thank you, Brother Jonkur, and the viewers as well. Look, that was a milestone and a new page in the history of our country. Look, we have come a long way, and I will not get into the history that much. We have a country now, South Sudan, and our country, when we had it in 2011, our hopes were so high that this is the country our people died for, and this is the country that we will build for our generations. for the new generations to come. But our aspirations were turned down by the ruling clique, and they turned the country, they failed our country, they failed our people, and our people are scattered all over the world now, back into the refugees camp, and poverty is to the max at home. People are suffering, and our people are, the worst of all, they're divided, and they're hitting each other, which was not there. So they also caused a war, that senseless war that led to death of hundreds of thousands of people, innocent people. So our country was on the wrong track.
Yeah.
So as citizens of this country, we cannot keep quiet, because it is our constitutional right that we can speak and we can bring change, because this is our country. The only thing we are against violence. And that's why some of our brothers and sisters, they took up arms, and that's their option. They think they might bring change through violence. But for us, violence is not acceptable. We are peaceful people, and we need to mobilize our people on the peaceful means to exercise their rights, to protest peacefully, and request that the current government in charge to resign, so that the people take back their power, and the people will elect their own leaders. So this is the option that we have taken. We refuse to rebel, to go to the bush, because that will bring mayhem and death to our people. And our people are dying already from diseases, from the war, that senseless war. So we're not going to increase their suffering. That's why we have chosen this. We are capable people, South Sudanese. Other people are talking that the UN could come and take over our country. We refuse that too. We cannot let our country be taken over by other people. We are South Sudanese, and we are capable to run our own affairs. So that's why we, the citizens of this country, must organize ourselves, must come in. And that's why when the People's Coalition for Civil Action came up the other day with their declaration, we supported them on the first day, because that was the right thing. As citizens of a country, we can reach a certain point that we say enough is enough, and then we protest peacefully. We're against any violence. Other people might say we're inciting violence. We are not. This is a peaceful movement. If we were to opt for the violence, we would have rebelled and go to the bush and pick up arms, like some of our brothers and sisters. It's not that difficult for us, but we haven't chosen that way. We chose the peaceful means, so that we bring change to our country. We introduce democracy. Our people can't be fighting over power all the time. If you are removed from there, you go to the bush, and then you fight your way back to the government. It's not right. This should be left to the people, because the power belongs to the people, and the people will elect their own leaders. So democracy is number one. We need democracy in this country. And now, in the last 3 years or so, since the current revitalized peace agreement was signed in September 2018, our people were hoping that maybe it would be different from the other peace agreement 2015 that was signed and then was broken by the same partners. But now you see we are now almost 3 years. The peace partners in Juba are dragging their feet because they are used to this. I drag their feet until the end, and then they will ask for extension, another 2 or 3 years. That's not acceptable. Yeah, and the worst of all, if they ask for extension and they look after our people, it would be good. There are no services completely. There are very minimal services. No roads, no electricity, no clean water. The people are not even paid. The workers are not paid on time. They will take 6 months or 3 months without salaries, including the army. Our veterans are neglected. The orphans and widows, they are neglected. That's not right. We should be looking after our veterans, after our widows and orphans. This country belongs to them because they're paid so much. So this is the responsibility of the government, and the government is failing this. So we cannot just sit back everybody is comfortable where he is or she, and then we let them entertain what is there. It's not right. This country must be brought back to the right track, and this country belongs to everybody. This is not a tribal country. This belongs to the people of South Sudan, and everybody has the right to speak up, to become anything they want in that country without any hindrance because he belongs to that or she belongs to the other. That's not right. So this is what we are. Corruption is widespread everywhere, and a lot of people talk about it in the past. That's the norm. And even our own culture, the way we do things is changing in South Sudan. In South Sudan, the things that were prohibited are becoming the normal now, which is not right. Like this corruption. Corruption was not in our culture. So it became a normal now. It became a normal practice everywhere you go, and so many other things. Our children need to be put in schools because we need to invest on our younger generations because this country belongs to them. So we need a quality top education, and every child in South Sudan must be at the school by now. But if you go to Juba or any other town in South Sudan, children are everywhere. Kids are studying under the trees. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. It is the responsibility of our responsibility as responsible citizens of this country to say enough is enough. Provided that we don't use violence. We are against violence. So this is where we are, Brother Jonkur. We're calling for this peaceful move. We've joined our brothers in the People's Coalition, and we are now in a grand coalition with other partners. We signatures there, we are only 4.
Yes.
But there are so many out there. There are so many. Maybe some they don't want to sign, but they will appear on the day. We have thousands of them. So this is or hundreds of organizations ready to join this movement. So this is our time. This is our moment. The people of South Sudan, we must take courage. We must take courage and bring change. To bring change is not easy. We have to deal with it. We have to, because the entrenched, the leadership or this clique in Juba, they will resist by all means, but we try to be peaceful because we don't want our revolution to be deterred by other people. We must be focused on the non-violence movement to bring about change. Yeah, thank you.
Correct. Really appreciated, Dr. Maturgak. And now, it is a non-violence movement. All this, the United Citizens for Change, the NPM, which is you're representing, you are the chairman of that, and PCCA, and also Red Card Movement. They are all calling for an uprising. That uprising require cooperation from South Sudan Defense Forces, from National Security, from all in the country. I want you to send a message, a clear message to the people of South Sudan, those border drivers, and doctors and nurses and police and any others, National Security, South Sudan Defense Forces. What is your message? Because the day has been fixed. August 30th is the day that should take an action. What is your message to them for that day, Dr. Matur?
Yeah, thank you. Look, our message is very clear, and I will start with the army, the police, and all the other organized forces. Look, our hearts go out to you every day, every single day. You're doing a difficult work. You're working under very difficult circumstances without pay. Your kids, your families are suffering. We know that. And you haven't changed course. You've been supportive of this government, protecting our territorial integrity and protecting our people. We really appreciate that, and we thank you for that, the army and the police. But what we need from you, we are not going to be, our people will be marching peacefully around the towns across South Sudan. Please protect your brothers and sisters. They're not holding any arms. They're not armed groups. They are just civilians exercising their constitutional rights. So it is your duty as citizens of that country too to come together and support the people who are peacefully protesting in the streets. And the same to other people, other civil servants, whether they across our nation, and everybody there, whether they are the traders in the markets or this revolution belongs to you. These are your sons and daughters, and the brothers and sisters, and who have decided to come up with this plan, because we refuse to take up arms. We refuse that we submit to other international organizations so that they come and run our country. We're against all this. We are your brothers and sisters. We are fed up with the system in our country, and we need a peaceful change. A peaceful change that the power will go back to you, the people, to elect your own leaders who will be accountable to you. So I urge them to protect the peaceful movements, and we urge everybody to participate on the day, provided they're peaceful. This is a movement for all the South Sudanese. We're against the divisions that has been caused by the current regime through policy of divide and rule. We are not just tribes in South Sudan. We are proud South Sudanese. And everybody will be out there from every corner in South Sudan. It's not belonging to any particular tribe. We're against this so-called tribalism. It must be put away, because we're in the 21st century. We need to build this country that belongs to everybody. A country of the rule of law, justice and equality, and democracy. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Matur Gak, for this. This is the day that's very important. People of South Sudan have to wake up. 16 years with no clean water, 16 years with no infrastructure, 16 years with no hospital, 16 years with people have no values that they have been fighting for, which is justice and liberty and prosperity. Yes, this is the right time for revolution to take place, so our people can be liberated, liberate their mind, and liberate from hunger, liberate from diseases, and liberate from property that has been created by President Dictator Salva Kiir Mayardit. I really appreciate you, Dr. Matur. If you want to add more, you can go ahead and add your message, and then we should be joined by the other colleagues, momentarily. It looked like they are having difficulties. I see there Mr. Mabor too, he has some difficulties. His device is not connected for some reason. But yeah, you can send your message, if you are done from there. But take your time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, look, Brother Jonkur, we have come through a very difficult situation and conditions in our country. And that history reminds us so that we must be always stronger and united. Look, our brothers starting from the Nyanya one, if they hadn't decided to do that, we wouldn't have a country now.
Correct.
Then until we came to the SPLA. That's a good work, and that's a golden history. Nobody can dispute that. Our brothers in the SPLA, they have done a great job, and that's why our hearts are going out to them now, because we are not happy, because their conditions are not right, because they have done a lot to that country, and now they are being marginalized. They don't have even salaries, their kids are not going to school, they're suffering. So that's not right. These are our veterans, we should be looking after them. We've got widows there. Their spouses, they were killed in the liberation movement, and we've forgotten them. We've got orphans whose parents, one parent or both, were killed in the movement, in the liberation movement, and they are being neglected. A country that does not look after their veterans, orphans, and widows is doomed to fail. And we are on course of that. So that's why we need a change. This country needs to be built. When we were fighting the Jalab in the north, we were being marginalized, and everybody knows. We're being marginalized politically, economically, socially, and that's why our people took up arms. It was the rightful decision. They faced difficulties, and we wanted better life, to change the livelihood of our people. Now we have come. Look, in the last 10 years, at the 6 years of interim period, what has changed? Nothing. Instead, we've even gone backward. Our people are suffering even more than they were before the liberation movement. No school at the same standard. That's not right. When you liberate your people, you change the livelihood for better. And we haven't done that. We haven't fulfilled that promise. And as citizens, responsible citizens, we cannot sit just relax, as I said, wherever you might be, and forget about our people. That's not right. We must look after each other. And that's why we have taken this bold decision to speak up, mobilize our people on peaceful basis, so that, because this is their constitutional rights. We're against violence, and change could be brought through that. So because now we're brothers and sisters in one country, we don't need to go to the bush so that we can change the government. We can change it here inside. So this is a peaceful movement. This is a movement of the people of South Sudan, wherever they might be. We're against any tribalism in this country. This country belongs to everybody. And everybody must be proud citizens of South Sudan, and everybody contributed to the liberation of this country, whether it's from any corner of our country. The liberation belongs to the people of South Sudan, the entire people of South Sudan. We respect them for that, and that's why they need better living standards. They need better schools so that our kids can learn quality education. We train, because they are the future generation who will take over that country. We need hospitals. Like now we're in a pandemic, and our people are suffering, and we don't have equipped hospitals. These are things that we need, and that's why our people fought generations after generations, so that we have a country that would look after its own citizens. So yeah, that's my message. This is a peaceful movement. Please protect it. The army and the police and all the security operators, we are not against you in particular. We are not against anybody there. We are against the system that fail our people and fail our country. We are now being looked down everywhere, in East Africa, all over Africa, and all over the world. These are South Sudanese. Why you've been fighting for decades and decades? Why are you fighting for this country? It is a question that we get everywhere, and we can't answer it, because we've been failed by our leadership. That's why we put them to account, and we make peaceful demonstrations, so that we bring about a change that will lead to democracy, and the people will elect their own leaders. Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Matur Gak, for this kind words. Yes, that is what it needed in our country. I really appreciate you for coming on and commending and adding these very, very valued, points to our people. They are watching you tonight, and is it clear? The message is clear, message of change, and message that they need to come out to get rid of this government, the government that actually destroyed the social fabric of our people in the Republic of South Sudan. So thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and drop you and hang out there. If we need you to add any more, if you wanted to have more, I may bring you back again. And with that, I want to welcome Mr. Rajab Muhandis of the People Coalition for Civil Actions to this forum. Thank you, Sas Rajab Muhandis, for coming. And also the journalist and the writer, Mr. Dengdit Ayok, the Director of Political Mobilization for United Citizens for Change. Gentlemen, welcome on the forum, and I am so honored to have you here tonight to have this very important discussion, the Declaration of Formation of Grand Coalition non-violent political forces for regime change in the Republic of South Sudan. Ustaz Rajab Mohandes, what does this day mean? What does it mean? What does the declaration mean? I want to give you that opportunity to go ahead and weigh in. And also, Ustaz Dengit, I want to give you an opportunity after Ustaz Rajab as well. Go ahead, Ustaz Rajab.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity. And it's an honor to join you on this important discussion. Well, from the People's Coalition for Civil Action.
You can move a little bit to the right on the camera. If you move to the right, it would be really appreciated. No, the other side, other way around. Okay, that's perfect. Perfect. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Good. Well, thank you. Yeah. Good. So, well, this coalition or this communique indicating that these 4 different groups have come together actually indicates that we have accepted to join our efforts and combine our energy together to work in mobilizing our people to ensure that we demand for changes in our country. And as Dr. Matur just mentioned earlier, you know, the situation in our country is completely unacceptable. South Sudan, as we all know, is a product of a very long struggle for liberation. And what we get today does not symbolize the struggle that people sacrificed so much to realize. And so what it means for us now is that instead of facing this agenda of really pursuit for changes in our country as individual entities, we have decided to work together as the People's Coalition for Civil Action, the United Citizens for Change, the National People's Movement, and the Red Card Movement. So we believe in more strength by coming together, and so we see that there is more opportunity. We can better reach out to wider audience in our country and be able to get more people to come out and really exercise their rights to demand that the country should not continue the way it's going now, and there is need for us to have a change. And that would mean actually calling for a transitional arrangement, a new transitional arrangement that would possibly help to transition the country to stability. What we have now is a transitional arrangement that does not provide hope of a real transition. And this transition has been there actually just right after independence. And it was a continuation of the post-CPA transition to independence, and it continues endlessly. So we have a challenging situation, and we feel that it's our responsibility as South Sudanese to face this situation squarely and address it. So we are aware that there are more South Sudanese who feel that we should all combine efforts. Others did not get the opportunity to join us in this framework, but we hope that as we move on, more and more of our people will join. Different other small groups that are working lonely will join, and so we will have a bigger force to face the situation that is here at home, and ensure that we address this situation and hopefully get our country out of the current challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Saz Rajab Mohandes. Now, I must ask you this question. We know that we are a non-violence, political movement aiming to bring down this dictatorial regime that actually have done big damage and harm to the people of South Sudan. National security, South Sudan Defense Forces, they are there. They have been used, against our people, and non-government, and so forth, so many. So tonight, what is your message? What is your message to South Sudan Defense Forces, and your message to national security even, and your message to all entire population of South Sudan It starts with Boda, doctors and nurses and professional South Sudanese. Your message to them is what in this day?
Well, the situation for all these different institutions, the security sector, for example, if we take it as a sector, has been deteriorating all along, all these years. If you have been to Juba of late, or to South Sudan of late, you will find that most of these forces now actually go and trade on charcoal. They go and burn charcoal, either along Juba Nimule Road or Juba Rokon Road, and get this charcoal to the market so that they can feed their families. And others do find different, manual labor to do, especially those who are in the training centers and cantonment areas. They end up going to work for the communities, to dig for the communities on their farms in order to either get food or get some money for survival. That is not the situation for someone who is sacrificing to defend a country. And so when the citizens come out to demand that the situation in the country should improve, they are not speaking for themselves alone. They are speaking actually for all these forces, that their living conditions, the way they are treated, should improve. There is no reason someone defends a country and then he has to go to the bush to burn charcoal in order to feed his family. We want to see our forces professional and strong, not only to be running around the country fighting wars that do not help to develop the country, but also serving in international missions. We want to see South Sudanese forces serving in the UN and many other different international missions. So that's where we would want to see our forces go. Now, those who are serving us in the hospitals and the different institutions, their conditions are so appalling, so unfortunate. And so the call for changes in the country is actually meant to help improve the situation for all these different institutions and individuals and professionals who have dedicated their lives and their intellect and their professions to serve our country. Yeah. So, in other words, we call on them to support this initiative peacefully, so that we have a change in the situation in the country.
Thank you, Ustaz Rajab Muhandis. Now I can turn to Ustaz Dengdida Yog, Director of Political Mobilization with the United Citizens for Change. Ustaz Dengdida Yog, I want to yield floor to you, and it's the same question in this very historic day that we are having very important discussion. And I welcome also Mr. Mabur. He was having difficulties with the network, but finally he made it. The chairman of the Red Card movement. He's part of this political mobilization. So, Ustaz Dengdida Yog.
Thank you, Joko.
Go ahead, yes. Unmute yourself, Dengdida Yog. Okay.
Thank you very much, Brother Jonkur, for the chance. I greet you. I greet the viewers of Concerned Citizens of South Sudan. And I greet our honorable guest in the studio, Rajab Muhandis, Mabortud, and Dr. Matur Gak. Today is a historic day, because on this day, the political groups in our country, the non-violent political organization, the political organization that believes in non-violence for change, have met and they discussed together in a meeting, and finally they came out with a joint communique in which they declared their intention for working together and the way forward for change in the Republic of South Sudan. So this one for us means that we are bringing all our thoughts and all our energy together to work for the welfare of our country. So this one is very important, and not only the political organizations, in fact, all the people of South Sudan are invited to come together to work for change in our country, because in the end, this change is for the country, and it is for the benefit of the people of South Sudan. So I don't know whether you will allow me to read the joint communique. It is already on the social media, but it will be good for us to read it so that those who did not get it can listen to the content of this joint communique.
Actually, Ustad Dengi, it was the plan for communique to be read to our viewers, to the public, but because we started a little bit redundant, so I will allow you to go ahead and read it before you weigh in, your views. Go ahead and read it. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very kindly. Joint communique, 20th August 2021. We, the representatives of the following non-violent civil and political organizations: the People's Coalition for Civil Action, the United Citizens for Change, National People's Movement, and Red Card Movement, convene a virtual consultative meeting on the situation in our country, the Republic of South Sudan, on 20th August 2021. Seriously concerned seriously concerned by the scale of political security, humanitarian and economic crisis resulting from leadership failure and violent political competition in our country since the independence, convinced that the current political leadership in the country is unwilling and has no capacity to manage these crises, and the people of South Sudan are not under any constitutional obligation to indefinitely endure the immense suffering resulting from their failures. Recognizing the constitutional rights and obligations of the people of South Sudan to hold the government to account for its actions and inactions, and calling upon our citizens to exercise this civic responsibility through peaceful means, applauding the People's Coalition for Civil Action for the bold decision to call on the people of South Sudan to stand up for their rights, condemning the ruthless and repressive response of the state to the call for peaceful demonstration in the country, and calling on the government to open civic and political spaces in accordance with the Constitution and law, commending the efforts made by various organizations and individual citizens, both inside and outside of the country, to create public awareness about the root causes of the crisis in the country and the need for the citizens to play active role in the search for a lasting solution to the situation in the country. Appealing to the armed forces of South Sudan to abide by their mandate in providing protection and respect to the citizen during peaceful demonstration. Appreciating the international community, especially IGAD, African Union, and the UN Security Council, for their continuing support to the people of South Sudan, and noting with concern that their goodwill efforts have been undermined and squandered by the political leadership in the country, reminded by the sacrifices of our heroes and heroines who envisioned and fought for freedom, justice, equality, and prosperity for all. Hereby resolve as follows. Demand for immediate and unconditional release of Honorable Quel Agwer Quel, who has been unlawfully arrested and detained for exercising his constitutional rights for a speech.
For free speech.
Demanding for immediate and unconditional release of Honorable Quel Agwer Quel, who has been unlawfully arrested and detained for exercising his constitutional right for free speech and
associations.
Number one, coordinate nonviolent civil and political actions to translate our people's desire for change into reality. 2, form a technical committee to study and recommend appropriate modalities for pursuing joint non-violent civil and political actions in our country and the possibility of establishing a grand coalition for all non-violent organizations in South Sudan. Create a coordination unit to facilitate the activities of all groups towards mobilizing the people of South Sudan for the National Awakening Day, 30th August 2021. Uphold the National Awakening Day to specifically demand the resignations of President Salva Kiir Mayardit and First Vice President Dr. Riek Machar Teng, and the revitalized government of national unity. Call upon the people of South Sudan to come out in large numbers to peacefully demonstrate nationwide and embark on civil disobedience until their demands are fully met. Strongly endorse non-violence principles and call on all citizens to avoid violence and vandalism during the demonstration. Signed by the representatives of the various non-violent civil and political organizations. So the document is signed by 4 representatives of these 4 political organizations. It is signed by Rajab Muhandis, who is with us here in the studio. It is also signed by Welding Attack, chairpersons of the United Citizens for Change. It is signed by Mabor Gordon Matot Tut, who is here with us in the studio. He is also a representative of the Red Card movement. And it is also signed by Dr. Matur Gorjok Gak, the chairpersons of National People's Movement. So this is the communique which was issued after that meeting. Now, let me proceed to say a few things before I let your next guest say something. This one is a document in which we have come together and we have agreed, as you have heard,
yes,
to work together to end this totalitarian and autocratic regime that is being led by President Salva Kiir Mayardit, Riek Machar Teng, and the entire regime. This is the message of these political forces, the non-violent political forces. Now, we have to talk about the reason why the People's Coalitions for Civil Action, the United Citizens for Change, the Red Card Movement, and the National People's Movement, why are they calling for change in the Republic of South Sudan? You know, we are calling for a new day or for a new republic in South Sudan because we have a lot of reasons. One of these we want to create a political environment where there will be a political participation for all political parties in the country. As you remember, right now in the country, there is no political space where all political parties or all political activists can exercise their political rights. The state is a repressive state. The current regime is ruling the country through the security apparatus. When members of the civil society speak, the way to deal with them is killing them. When the journalists write, the way for dealing with them is to kill them. When political activists talk, the only way for the regime to deal with them is killing them. And this regime has introduced another policy, that is the policy of a non-gunman. People are gunned down in different parts of the country, and after they are killed, the news come out that so-and-so was shot by a unknown gunman. This unknown gunman was finally discovered to be the government that has camouflaged his face in the form of a unknown gunman. So all over the country, the unknown gunman is walking on rampage, killing the people without anybody to control him and bring about security to the country. So unknown gunman is a policy exercised by the government in Juba to target political activists, to target members of civil society. And Rajab Mohandis is a member of civil society, and he is 100% aware of how the government have been treating them before the People's Coalition for Civil Action was formed. And I would be glad to hear from him to give us his own testimony in regard to this. So we want political freedoms in the country for all political groups, for the ordinary citizens, for civil activists, for political activists, for everyone. A country where no one will be killed just for speaking or writing in a newspaper. We want a country where there will be democracy. Right now, there is no democracy in our country. In the last decade, there has been no elections. Before, right after the independence, the elections were planned to take place in 2015. But before 2015, violence erupted within the ruling party, the SPLM, and the country was taken to war, and thousands of South Sudanese were killed. And so we say that there is no democracy in the country. The current leader in the country, Salva Kiir Mayardit, is a dictator. He doesn't want to exercise democracy. He rejected democracy within his party, the SPLM. And the war erupted as a result of him rejecting democracy in his party. The citizens of South Sudan are aware of this, and they are a witness. So Salva Kiir is a dictator. He doesn't want people to exercise democracy. That is why the United Citizens for Change, the People's Coalition for Civil Actions, and the Red Card Movement, and the National People's Movement, and others are calling for change in the country in order to open a political space where democracy can be exercised, where everybody will have his rights guaranteed according to laws of the Republic of South Sudan. So as we speak, we have a police state, a state in which people are killed, a state in which the government does not want to hear the voice of the citizens. So we are in a state where political freedoms and civil freedoms are denied for all the citizens. That's why we are calling for change in the Republic of South Sudan, because we want a space to be open for democracy, freedom of speech, all political freedom, political pluralism in the country, and the respect for human rights, because as we speak here, the dignity of human being is not respected in the Republic of South Sudan. Our dignity has been crushed by this regime, and therefore we are calling for a new day in South Sudan, a new country where human dignity will be respected, where human rights will be respected, by a new government that will come. So we are calling for a new South Sudan, and this must be very clear to all the people of South Sudan. If I may say something about the personality of the president, everybody is aware that the president is a person who has no vision. He wants to remain in power without a clear program and a strategy for running the country. And we are here saying that we don't want such a leader who has no vision, a leader that cannot provide services to the people, a leader under whose leadership people are being killed and insecurity is rampant all over the country. We want a leader that has a vision, a leader that will bring peace to the people of South Sudan, a leader that will not champion tribalism and tribal divisions and ethnic division in the country, because the current president is the one championing the policy of ethnic divisions, dividing the people of South Sudan in order to remain in power. And as a result, the people of South Sudan now hate themselves, and it is the president that doing this. It is the first vice president doing this. It is the SPLM doing this. It is the entire regime doing this. And that's why we are saying enough is not enough for such policies. Such policies should not be allowed to remain in power. And by the way, let me tell you this. The personality of President Salva Kiir Mayardit is a dangerous personality for the people of South Sudan. Why do I say this? Because he hates democracy. He does not want people to criticize him, even in his own party. Moreover, President Salva Kiir Mayardit does not want to see the people of South Sudan united. And that's why he introduced the policy of ethnic division. And therefore, there is a rise of ethnic nationality in the Republic of South Sudan. This was caused, and it was engineered, it was designed by the president himself. And now people are being targeted in the country on their ethnic background. And therefore, we are saying that a new day must come to the people of South Sudan, and that this darkness must come to an end. This current regime must come to an end. This is what the people of South Sudan should understand. Salva Kiir is a dangerous character for the people of South Sudan, because the country, if Salva Kiir is not removed, South Sudanese, listen to me. If Salva Kiir is not removed, if his regime is not removed, South Sudan is going to disintegrate. The country is going to, some people, some South Sudanese, as we talk here, are thinking of breaking away as a result of ethnic policy that was introduced by President Salva Kiir Mayardit. Not only ethnic policy, but lack of equality also. Okay, there is no equality in the Republic of South Sudan. And so if Salva Kiir is allowed, the people of South Sudan will become fed up to the point that they would prefer of breaking away. And we don't want to allow our country to disintegrate. The people of South Sudan must unite now and come together to remove President Salva Kiir Mayardit. I will stop here to allow the rest to have their say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ustaz Dengdi Ayog, for this very important, message. Yes, we hear it loud and clear. And now I will welcome dear brother Mabur Tut, the chairperson of Red Card Movement. And I've seen some people, they're talking about Red Card Movement. They started this and they are still alive and they are in it with us all together. Mabur, welcome to Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. I want to yield floor to you to tell us what this day means to you, the day of declaration of the formation of Grand Coalition for Non-Violence Political Forces for regime change, dictatorial regime change in our country. I yield floor to you.
Thank you very much, my brother Jonkur, and the rest of you gentlemen. I really appreciate being here with you in discussing this very important matter in this very important time in the history of our country. You see, I will compare this to 1955, the Turin Mutiny, which led our people to the first recognition of the southern people as a collective. I will compare it also to 1983, where young people, led by Dr. John Garang Carbino and William Nguyen, decided enough was enough. And they embarked on a 21-year brutal war so that we can gain South Sudan as it is. This day also will go down into the annals of history as a day when our people matured from having our own country into a prosperous country, into a democratic country, into a free country. So if you see, first we fought for recognition with the Anyanya one, then we fought to have our own state with the SPLM-SPLA war, and now this, we are fighting for the next stage in the history of our country. And the next stage is democracy, development, and freedoms. These are the next stages of any country. So this what we have achieved in the last couple of weeks, with those of Rajab being in Juba and all the other groups that have joined them. This will go down as those first bullets, so to speak, those first words that will make our country into a democratic, free, and prosperous nation. So that is what I truly feel. This is very momentous, to go into why we need to get rid of SPLM-led government. So when we say Kiir has to go, we mean the whole SPLM collective has let down our people tremendously. SPLM has been in power, in the South, basically from 1983. But those years of war, we will leave it. But let's start from 2005, after Garang had passed. Salva was sworn in as the first vice president in Sudan, and Dr. Riek became the de facto leader in South Sudan. What has SPLM really achieved in the last 16 years? We don't have anything tangible. We don't have anything tangible that the SPLM, we can say, yes, the SPLM has achieved this. And this is why they are so afraid to go to an election. In 2016, in 2013, there has been many reports by credible international organizations, including the former president of Nigeria, Olusegun Obasanjo. He went to Juba, he interviewed countless people in power, and they said there was no coup. So we are left to ask ourselves, what happened really? What happened? That war was truly orchestrated so that the SPLM can avoid to have a convention which would have led to an election. The SPLM has plunged our country into a war deliberately. Same again in 2016. Why? So that they can cover up their inabilities to provide a good vision for us. Where are the schools? 16 years, where are the schools? Oil is being exported. Where are the hospitals? Gold is being taken out in Kapoita. Where are the roads? Where is the economy? Every person in South Sudan now is crying. They don't have anything to look forward to next week, the week after, next year. They are living day to day, because of the poor economy. Secondly, the lack of security in our country is just heartbreaking. Sometime back, there was pictures floating on the internet of this unknown gunmen. They went, this old lady, they raped her and they killed her. And not one person was brought to book. How many more will our mothers die? How long will our brothers die in senseless wars? How long will it go on that all our elders are just gunned down in the middle of the street, or they are arrested, like Honorable Kwela Gurkwel, just for saying we need to exercise our democratic rights? This My people has to change. We have reached a point of no return. There's nothing that Salva Kiir Mayardit and the SPLM can do to redeem themselves. There's nothing they can do to make things better. The only thing left is for them to go into retirement. And those that have hurt people, those that have killed and have looted, they will need to face those consequences. They will really need to face those consequences. You know, if we go to the revitalized agreement, South Sudanese are very generous people. All this mess, they still said, all right, we will give you another chance. Here is the revitalized agreement. Go and implement it. Bring peace. What did Salva and his group do? They went and threw the paper into the dustbin. So the revitalized agreement is not being implemented. Salva Kiir wants more time to stay in power. So this is why we have come together to put this to an end. So I really appreciate those of Rajab who are in Juba, and they declared their statement in Juba, knowing that they risked a lot, but yet their convictions forced them to stand for what is right. And there's a lot of people saying that, these gentlemen are not doing the right thing. Well, let the people of South Sudan decide that. If the government is confident that it will stay in power because the people love them, then let South Sudanese walk onto the street on the 30th. Why are you deploying, if you're so confident that you are doing the right thing, why are you deploying thousands of soldiers onto the streets of Juba? We know the citizens have lost confidence in the government. And the only way for us to move forward is for Salva Kiir and the SPLM to leave our country. And we have new people, younger people with fresh ideas to take our country into the 21st century. So I will stop it there. Let us open the discussion, and thank you very much for having me, Brother Junker.
Thank you, Ustaz Mabor Tut, for the statement and elaboration. I understand, Ustaz Rajab Mohandes, it is late night back home right now, and thank you. We really appreciate for staying with us in this very critical time. But I must ask you this question, Ustaz Rajab Mohandes, I want you to elaborate to South Sudanese who are watching this live broadcast, the reason behind the call for demonstration, and also what kind of state is going to be born after the change. What kind of state is going to be born, Ustaz Rajab Mohandes? I want to yield floor to you, and then later I'm going to go to Dr. Matur Gak if he has to elaborate more. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you once again. Now, what prompted us to launch the Declaration of the People's Coalition for Civil Action and to further engage with our colleagues and brothers and sisters in the different institutions, again, to go this far to combine our efforts, was the realization that everything that South Sudanese sacrificed for has been lost. The country, of course, has had a very clear objective and vision by the time of the liberation struggle. All along, during the 21 years of the war, the SPLM was in the lead and was clearly defining the country that we wanted. And that gave people the hope that indeed there was a reason for South Sudan to be independent. And that was why on the 9th of July, when people went, when people went for a referendum in January 2011, people overwhelmingly voted for independence because there was belief that this country, Sudan at the time, was not conducive for all of us and was not taking all of us as equal citizens. There was marginalization, there was underdevelopment, and all those kind of negative acts against citizens of the country. And so there was hope that with an independent South Sudan, we would have a different situation, and we would have a country of our own that would then we would develop and enjoy. And so we felt that all these things were lost. All these objectives and vision for the independent South Sudan were lost. And unfortunately, people went to war, and this took a lot of lives and displaced so many people. Now, an opportunity created itself through the peace agreement that was signed in 2015. And we have been part of these processes of the peace agreement. We were monitoring the implementation and continuously reporting. And our reports were continuously indicating that the agreement was not meeting its intended objectives until in 2016, finally, it collapsed and IGAD had to call for revitalization the following year. Now, the 2018 agreement was then signed, again, with, of course, participation of the civil society. And we have all along been pushing very strongly. I have been representing civil society in the reconstituted Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission of the Peace Agreement, a signatory to the Peace Agreement. For the last 3 years, we have been strongly pushing for the agreement to be implemented. If you go to the website of RJMEC and IGAD and read the reports from the mechanisms, for example, the ceasefire and transitional security arrangements, monitoring and verification mechanism, the reports have consistently indicated that the transitional security arrangements are not being implemented effectively, and the latest reports actually tend to indicate that the transitional security arrangements are actually stalled. And we have several reports from the UN panel of experts on South Sudan. The reports have also clearly indicated that the agreement has actually stalled. And for those of us who have visited the training centers, and the cantonment areas, it's a very miserable situation. In one of the reports we had in May, there was a cantonment area which had about 1,500 soldiers. In the time the report was shared with us, there were only 71 people left, soldiers left. So you can see that over 1,400 left the place, and only about 71 were left struggling. And up to this time, it may be evident that even the rest might have also left. So the whole thing isn't moving, and the result is that insecurity continues to prevail. The agreement was meant to fix the economy. The economic situation continues to falter, to fail. And life is becoming so unbearable for South Sudanese. And we believe that there is no reason for South Sudanese in an independent country to be running away, to languish in refugee camps and stay in the camps of internally displaced persons. So we also felt that all efforts that have been exerted by the people of South Sudan, including the national dialogue, the initiative that the president initiated. In fact, when the national dialogue was announced and when it was being implemented, the message from the political leaders was that the national dialogue was the only way for peace in South Sudan. Now, people were taken through this process within the country, in the refugee camps and so on, and they spoke out, and the message was very clear that there is leadership failure in the country, there is political deadlock, and without breaking this political deadlock, the country cannot move forward. And the people went on to demand, actually, in most of the states, that the leaders who are directly responsible for this political failure, for this leadership failure, and the political deadlock should actually step aside to allow the people of South Sudan reconstruct the country and the political system that will take the country forward. My brothers were talking about the SPLM. This party has been killed almost completely. If it was governing the country, I'm sure the country would not be in this state. The party is not there. It comes together only when there is a decision that has been made and people are called together to be informed about this decision. That's how the party functions. But for the organs of the party to discuss and decide about the country, it doesn't happen. The documents of the SPLM, if you read, especially the manifesto of 2008, before the party disintegrated, it was very beautiful. It actually summarizes very clearly the situation in the Sudan and what should be done to create what then they refer to as the new Sudan, which was a political dispensation, whether in an independent South Sudan or in a united Sudan. But the message or the vision was very clearly articulated. I can speak here with the confidence that nobody talks about these documents anymore. So the national dialogue that was highly celebrated for 4 years, engaging everyone in the country, the results had been, thrown away and abandoned. And it is the same thing with the agreement. The agreement, in terms of its content, could help the country make progress. Everything in it is not being implemented as well. So we tend to believe that it has become a political deception, and so our observation clearly was that we lost 10 years in all this confusion, and this was not coming just for free. It has come at the cost of lives of South Sudanese, at the cost of the future of the generation, and this country that we fought so hard to create, we are losing it actually. We are losing South Sudan. There's encroachment from our neighbors on the territories of our country, and decisions. In fact, we have lost sovereignty long ago. So we are like a plane that is flying on autopilot and can crash at any time.
Yes.
So we felt that we cannot continue like that. We cannot afford another 10 years, the second decade of our independence in the same situation. The worst thing is that there is no clear direction where we are moving as a country. And so we felt that no, let us sit down and agree to demand that the people should come out and decide what they want for this country. So that forms the basis for which, we came up with this decision. And this did not just come. We had lots of consultations with colleagues who are here on this forum, and also with South Sudanese across the country, and also with our brothers and sisters in diaspora, to try to think through what should be done. And the final thing we said was that our constitution vests sovereignty of our country on the people, and the people should decide how the country should move forward. And also borrow from the national dialogue that this political dialogue must be broken for the country to move forward. Now that is where we are. So what type of South Sudan do we want after this? As a coalition, we believe that we do not carry the brains of all South Sudanese to decide for them. And so we have to move in stages. The first thing is that we have to agree that the country cannot move like this, and therefore there is need for a new political transition that will honestly stabilize the situation in the country and take the country to elections and then help the country move forward. And such decision needs more of us, the citizens, to decide. So I would not get into the details of this, but I know that there is no shortage of information of the type of a country that we want. And I want to say that on the 9th of July, when 2011, when we became independent, the Declaration of Independence was passed by the Southern Sudan Legislative Assembly, which was the last parliament of the regional autonomous Southern Sudan. That was their last resolution, but it was called the first declaration of the independent South Sudan. The document summarizes clearly what the people of South Sudan fought for, and it also articulates clearly the type of a country that we wanted. So the foundations of our country have been clearly established. Even the constitution that we have, the 2011 constitution as amended, defines clearly what we want. Of course, we have a lot of concerns about the constitution, but most of these concerns are centered around the powers of the president. But the rest of the constitution, our political objective the economic objectives, the Bill of Rights, and the rest of the parts of this constitution clearly defines the country we want. The only problem is that all these things have been abandoned. Now, what we practice in South Sudan are the things people fought against, and very unfortunately, it is actually like, you know, some of the detention centers where South Sudanese were tortured and executed are still in use today in the independent South Sudan. What have we achieved? And to make matters worse, it is like the way we now handle these things is even worse than the way the governments that we fought before were handling them. In the national dialogue, I personally recommended that most of these detention centers, which were used to torture South Sudanese in the course of the liberation struggle, must be turned into museum. They should not be there again for South Sudanese to go through the same, pains and continue to see these as the houses where their loved ones were tortured and disappeared, you know. But we have all the same things. We simply seem to have taken away the previous governments that we did not want in the Sudan and created a country and continue to replicate what we did not want completely. So we are speaking out in good faith that our country must move forward. And those in leadership must understand that this is not the type of South Sudan that we wanted. Enough, we can excuse people for the 10 years that we lost, but we cannot accept to have another 10 years of suffering for people. What is the reason of children being born in the bushes, under trees, and in refugee camps, in misery? You know, we have places in our country. We have homes. We have villages. We have food if we go and cultivate. You know, so we have a difficult situation as a country, and we are losing this country, and that is the reason for which we say there must be a new arrangement. The political leaders should understand that the country cannot move like this, and so we need to sit down as South Sudanese and decide how we move forward. So most of these decisions will not be difficult to make because we already know what the country should be. There is enough literature. There's no shortage of literature on the future of this country. So this decision will be very easy to make. And the first important thing is that we all need to know that we have to go back to the basics and fix this country. Thank you.
So phenomenal. Ustaz Rajab Mohandes, phenomenal. Thank you so much. And indeed, we cannot say that no shortage of information what South Sudan we want. You know, we do have information what South Sudan, that people of South Sudan want in the future. Thank you so much. I might ask you this question as well, and then I will ask Dr. Matud Gak also a question. But let me, follow up with you, Ustaz Rajab Mohandes. I have read here some comment. Some people are saying that the call for demonstration and uprising is going to turn violence. How do you respond to these people?
Yes, they are absolutely right, because there is serious deployment of forces by the government against unarmed civilians in South Sudan. If these tanks are removed from the streets, and if the police, if the forces are made to provide protection to the markets and to vital installations of our country and to protect the people will march peacefully and sit at Dr. John Garang Mausoleum without any violence. You know, so the violence will come definitely from the weapons being deployed in the towns, along the streets, and the attempt to respond violently on the people. But as for the citizens, our message is very clear. Do not carry anything in your hands, even stones. You can carry placards, you sing. You know, people are going to be peaceful. So if there is going to be any violence, this violence will come from the weapons that they see being deployed on the road. And so there is no reason for a government that has caused so much suffering to the people to believe that this suffering and the burden is not enough, and therefore they have to deploy weapons and soldiers to face and harm civilians. So from the population, from the ordinary citizens, there is no sign of violence. There is no sign of violence. It is a peaceful demonstration that we have talked about. And so we see violence coming only from one side, from the forces being deployed on the roads. Why do we need tanks on the streets? You know, when we have insecurity along the roads, can't these tanks be deployed along the roads to provide protection to people? Why would these tanks be deployed to a hungry mother who is carrying an orphan in her hands and going to say that they need the situation to change? Why should a tank be deployed against them? You know, so for us, we believe that if there is violence, it will come from the forces being deployed on the streets against the civilians, and that there is need to understand that the citizens have their constitutional rights, you know, and you know, when South Sudanese were fighting, we were young, we grew up in the liberated areas. We were told very clearly that there is no, you know, there were violations of the rights of the citizens. There were all these kind of things that were not being, you know, granted for citizens then, and so there was need for all this struggle. Now, yes, we have created a country, and we have articulated very clearly that citizens have the rights to speak out. They have the rights to demonstrate. It is in the Constitution. So I don't see why we should be deploying a lot of forces against the civilians. And we have made it clearly, we have sent a message to the South Sudan National Police Service, putting them on notice, and that is the Ministry of Interior, that people will be demonstrating. The demonstrations will be peaceful. The police, the national police, has a responsibility to protect the people, protect their property, and protect vital installations of the country, particularly markets, against criminal elements who may take advantage of the situation, go around and loot and vandalize the markets. The police should protect against this and create a conducive environment for citizens to peacefully demonstrate and express their demands to the situation or for change in the country. Now, so let us be honest in this. We are not armed. The civilians are not armed. These are orphans who lost their parents to the war and have no schools. They are being displaced. Some are living in internally displaced camps. Others have just been newly displaced. These are widows whose husbands died in the course of the struggle of this country. We are talking about men and women who contributed to the liberation struggle, and now they cannot get paid. The resources of this country disappear in the pockets and bank accounts of few political and military elites. And so these people are coming out to say, no, this country should not continue like this. The resources should be utilized for all citizens of our country. And they say they are coming to do this peacefully. So we are sure that they have no means of violence. And so the only means of violence we have seen in town is with the authorities, and we call on them to desist from using violence against the civilians.
Thank you, Ustaz Rajab Muhandis, for elaboration. I really appreciate you. Please stick around. I don't want you to go anywhere for now.
Okay.
Dr. Maturgak, I have a very important question to you here. Some common men and intellectuals are arguing that people of South Sudan are not politically conscious enough to make a revolution and engage in revolution and regime change. What is your take in this? And this is actually a mockery, you know, in my opinion. But I want you to answer this question.
Yeah, it is really the mockery, as you put it, says Junker. Yeah, I think the guys, you said it all. Yeah, look, our people are not are politically conscious. I dispute that argument from that person that we are not politically conscious. We are, and that's why we are taking these steps. Look, to become political conscious, it's not only us. It has been started for generations. Even the wars our people fought, they came through political consciousness and making political decisions. Even to take up arms for Nyanya 1, that was a political decision, and that was a political consciousness. And the same for the SPLA. It's political consciousness so that our rights were not there, and we have to stand up to speak on behalf of our people. That's a political consciousness. And the same again, once again, it's repeating itself now. People are speaking up, they're organizing themselves to bring about change. This time, it's a peaceful change. This is a political consciousness. I don't know where he's getting that idea that we are not political conscious. We are political conscious, and one of the guys said, look, we are very kind people, the people of South Sudan, very kind and very generous people. And that's why we've given these people, the regime, the current regime in Juba, the benefit of the doubt for years and years. Now it's 10 years since the independence and 6 years before that. So we are kind. We look, you could do better. You do this, you change. But they're not listening to the people, and they're not changing anything. And that's why the people are fed up and said, look, enough is enough. We're not ready to go again for another 5 or 10 years in this situation. That's not right. Now we're losing another generation to illiteracy, no proper schools. And that should have happened in the liberation, during the liberation, because it was understandable that the main focus is the war. And people should get to be armed and fight the enemy. And education was less. So that's understandable. But now we have a country. What are we doing in this country? We are not educating our kids. We're not putting them, we're not providing services to our people. So it means the liberation, it rendered it meaningless, because that was not the purpose of the liberation. So we are very conscious as people of South Sudan politically, and that's why we fought the wars that come out of political consciousness, to take political decisions so that you liberate your country and you bring freedom to your people. I will go back to the question of the SPLM. I think some of our guys, they spoke about it. You know, we are not against personalities. We are not against individuals. We have nothing to do with the personality of the president or the vice president. We respect them as elders and seniors and liberators of the country. We respect them. What we are against is the system they created. We are not against the personality or whoever in Juba. It's the system that they created that we are against. That should be understood. Should be understood like that by our people. And if we talk about the SPLM, look, we have to differentiate the two SPLM. The SPLM during the liberation under Dr. John Garang, may Almighty God rest him in peace. That's the SPLM we were proud of it, and we were all part of it. We were committed and diehard members of the SPLM from day one. So the SPLM we knew that liberated our country, we should separate it from the current SPLM in charge of our affairs in Juba. The current SPLM has moved into something completely different. They've forgotten about the vision of the SPLM, and the way the SPLM conducted itself during the liberation until the CPA is completely different. And we put that maybe the type of leadership. That's why we give the fallen hero, Dr. John Garang, a credit. Very capable man. He kept the SPLM intact, and he waged the war until they brought us to the CPA under his leadership. During that time, look, there were guns everywhere, like what is happening now. But you cannot see people killing themselves, civilians killing themselves every day. Like what is happening now? What is happening now is out of hand. Everybody is armed, and they're killing themselves under the watch of the government, and they're not doing anything. If they were able to control this during the liberation, during the war, why they are unable to do that now? That's why I said this is an intentional thing. That's why they don't want to set up an institution, because to govern, you cannot govern as a person. You need institutions to govern the country. And these people, they are intentionally avoiding to set up any institutions because we have capabilities. And they are sitting there, they are untapped, whether in diaspora or even in South Sudan. We have very skilled people, very qualified people who could set up institutions so that the governance goes the right way. And even the SPLM, someone mentioned it there, the SPLM is not in charge of what is happening now in Juba. The SPLM has been marginalized. It's few people running the show, and even the representation in being based tribal and regional basis. The SPLM has nothing to do with the government. The SPLM should be the one nominating the ministers. They hold them to account each time, and they make sure these are their cadres committed, and they know the vision of the movement. But it's not. It's out of hand. SPLM has been marginalized, and few people are running the show, few personalities, and they're avoiding to set up a system where there will be institutions so that our people could be served as a dividend from the liberation. Because when you liberate our people, you must set a target. You cannot liberate the country and you push it back to the same mentality that you were fighting against. Things are doing in Juba now are the same things that were being done against us by the regime in Khartoum in those days. But they haven't changed. So what was the meaning? What was the reason for the liberation? The liberation is to bring a total change so that the people, look, we had enough of this. We need to open a new page. And luckily enough, we had our country. Our people voted unanimously, almost unanimously, nearly 99% for the secession of our country. That was the unprecedented unity of our people, and the government should have capitalized on that unity because our people were very united. But instead, the government started to divide our people on the tribal line so that they can to create problems, so that they will be fighting and forget about governance, questioning what is happening here. So the policy of divide and rule, that's exactly what is happening. So if we talk about the SPLM, let us be clear, because other people, they said, look, the SPLM liberated the country. Yep, we know that, and we were part of it, all of us. But the current SPLM is not the SPLM that we need. This is a moved SPLM. It doesn't, no vision. It doesn't look, or it doesn't look like the SPLM of Dr. John Garang that we belong to. This is a completely different thing. That's why we need to say, look, enough is enough. This one, we have to put it in the dustbin. We need a new page. A new page where there will be political pluralism. Everybody will come up with their programs, convince the people of South Sudan that this is my program and I need to get elected to serve you. And that person will be accountable to the people. So this is what we want. We want fairness, we want justice, and freedom for all. You cannot come and create a state where people are terrorized. You cannot speak, and then you end up in jail. You end up being gunned down by unknown gunmen, which is known, by the way. So that's not right. That's not the country our people were fighting for. That's why we need to say enough is enough, like what we're doing now, and we need courage. We need to take bold decisions because it's not an easy task. We are facing a brutal system, but we are ready for it as people, and a day must come, like it came in 1983. Our people, they said enough was enough. And they took up arms and they went to the bush. Nearly 3 million of them were killed, of our people. That's the current Rwanda. This time, we don't want violence. It could be done peacefully. If the government comes and starts shooting on our peaceful people, he will be held accountable by the international community, and our people would know exactly. Look, the government is killing their people. They're marching with their bare hands. and the security guys are shooting at them. So it would be shame on them, but I urge them to let the people move peacefully. The people must come out without anything, like Brother Raja Mahandis mentioned. We don't want anybody carrying weapons, even stones or anything or sticks. We don't want it. Just come with your bare hands and say what you want, that we need change. We had enough of the same. We need to open a new page. We need new dispensation of politics in our country. We need people with vision so that they serve our country. They serve our poor. If you go to the villages, and I keep saying this all the time, you will start to cry. Our people are suffering. Our people are suffering. And they're keeping quiet. And that's why I said, look, our people are really very kind and very generous. They don't ask anything. And they're suffering. They have nothing to eat, no hospitals to go when they're sick. Their kids are not going to school, and they're keeping quiet. Look, it is incumbent upon us, particularly the intellectuals of this country, so that we say, look, we can speak on behalf of our people. Our people cannot be mistreated like this. We need a change. We need a change whether we provide them with roads, accessible roads, freedom, they have clean water, and they have schools, better schools equipped, hospitals, and the rest, so that our people can enjoy the being citizens of a free country. That was the aim of the liberation. We cannot just come and sit down and just gossiping every day and killing people, and that's not right. So it's a bold decision that we've taken through political consciousness. Our people are very conscious politically, and this one must go to the right direction as we manage it, as a peaceful movement without any violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Matur Gag. You want to say something?
Can I add to this?
Okay, go ahead before I go to my book.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you, Uncle Matur Gag, for these observations. Now, there is some serious misperception and also conspiracy in South Sudan. And the misperception is that South Sudanese are not politically conscious, and therefore they do not know what they want for themselves, and they cannot decide for themselves. The conspiracy is that there are few of our brothers and sisters from the region and around the world who have been saying since the OLS days, the days of the Operation Lifeline Sudan, that there is no capacity in South Sudan, and so there is this conspiracy being advanced that, you know, you go to South Sudan, the people are completely incapable of doing anything, and therefore there is need for capacity to be taken from the region on almost everything. And so let us get this very clear. Yes, our people may not be so educated like we would wish to have them by now, but they know what they want. In the liberation struggle, they stood firm and fought for their rights, fought for what they wanted. They faced forces coming from different parts of the world being mobilized to come and fight the people of South Sudan. They would come by air or land. But the people faced all those and stood strong until the CPA negotiations and articulated what they wanted. In the 2010 elections, we had 12 ballots for each individual, for each voter. And the popular belief was that our people were illiterate. And usually in most of the world, you find people vote like 2, 3, or 4 ballots. Now, putting 12 ballots in the hands of illiterate people who had never voted, most of them had never voted in their lives, was too complicated. Our people voted correctly as they wanted. Yes. They did not make mistakes. They voted for the people they wanted as they wished. Of course, there were instances where attempts were made to undermine their will in those elections, but they did it. And again, in 2011, when time came for them to vote in the referendum was internationally monitored. Our people knew what they wanted, and they decided it correctly. Now, again, if we take the national dialogue, which was the process that engaged the people, you know, the political elites in Juba thought that the agreement would eventually take power away from them. So they tried to work on the national dialogue as an alternative, and thought that the people would say what the political elites wanted to hear from the people. When they went around to the people knew what they wanted, and they spoke exactly what they wanted. I have been all over this country, moving around to different parts of South Sudan, engaging with citizens. In 2017, at the beginning of 2017, I was in one of the states. We had an event. Of course, we went from Juba. We had dressed well in suits like you, my brother Jonko, and the rest of the brothers. And we went to tell the people about the peace agreement. That was the 2015 peace agreement. That was in early 2017 when we went to one of the states. And after discussing, and then we came out for tea break, I had a chat with one woman. The woman never went to school, but she was attending that meeting, that conversation. And so I told her, yes, you know, we were disseminating the agreement, the implementation of the agreement. She asked me a question that made me not catch sleep until I went back to Juba. She asked me politely, is there still an agreement being implemented? You know, and a month or two after that, IGAD had to call for revitalization of the agreement, because literally the agreement was not actually moving. Now, this is a woman who came from the village, who never went to school, but knew that there was no agreement being implemented, you know. So to say our people are not politically conscious, they do not know what they want, is undermining their ability, first of all, their wisdom and their knowledge of what they want. But also, it is important to send this message to some of our leaders who think that when South Sudanese decided to say, no, the war must stop, they quickly try to say, no, these people are being engineered by foreign powers. This is absolutely wrong. You know, how, you know, it is even a shame to believe that, you know, as a leader, you are governing people who cannot think for themselves completely, only if they are pushed from outside. I know that there are some of us in the country, especially in the leadership, who cannot take any action unless a delegation comes from New York, unless envoys come from the UK, from the US, from the EU to talk to them. You know, they don't take actions. But that does not apply to all South Sudanese. You know, the rest of us in the country understand what the country wants and know what we want as a nation. So there is the question of South Sudanese are not politically conscious does not hold at all at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ustaz Rajab Mohandis. And actually, I want Mabor Tut, Chairman of Red Card Movement, to, you know, elaborate on that. Are we politically conscious or not? Because this question has been circulated even by intellectual, which is really so sad. I want you to elaborate on that before I move back to Ustaz Rajab Mohandis. I have more questions, actually. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. The disrespect that these people have for our people is unimaginable. That is just nothing but sheer disregard for our people's intelligence. There's two things that we hear all the time. They say, first, we are a young nation. Don't expect us to be, like America or things like that. What a load of nonsense. Even your child, if you give birth to your child today, you expect them to hit milestones. After 1 year, they should be doing this. After 2 years, they should be walking. After 3 years, they should be talking. After 4 and 5, they are going to school. These are milestones that a baby goes through. These milestones haven't been hit in South Sudan. We cannot keep saying that we are a young country while we are not meeting some minor milestones. So which means there is something fundamentally wrong with the system. There is something fundamentally wrong with our country. And we need to investigate why is that. And we have come to the conclusion that what is wrong with our country is not the people, it is the leadership. If there's anybody that doesn't have the intellectual capability to implement democracy and freedom, it is not the people of South Sudan. It is the leadership that doesn't have the intellectual capacity and the will to be able to be a free society. So they want to shift the blame that the people are not politically conscious. That is total nonsense. That is total nonsense. As Rajab and Dr. Matur said, in 1983, how many people had gone to school? You could count. There were less than 1,000 graduates, even less people with PhDs, and yet they went to the villages, they went to the cattle camps and recruited young people and sensitized them and told them, this is what you have to fight for. And this is what, for example, my group, the Red Card Movement, has been doing. We have been sensitizing our people. This is your right. They know their rights. If you go to all the tea places, what the reports that we get is, go to the tea places, go to the markets, go to the villages. They know something is wrong. It doesn't need for you to have a PhD in political science so that you can be a good citizen. It doesn't. You just need to know what your rights are, and our people know what their rights are. It is just their generosity that has and the appreciation for the struggle for 21 years that Salva Kiir and the SPLM have done. It is just that generosity that has been extended to them. That's why they are still in power. And so we really need to hammer this point home. The elites in Juba have disrespect for the intelligence of our people, and that is wrong. The breaking of trust. That's why these guys steal our money and take it outside. Is because they disrespect us intellectually. That's why they use insipid statements like these guys are being sponsored from outside. So it is just the sheer disregard for our people. And what do we need to do? We just need to keep hammering home. The youth, especially now the youth with the internet, they are very, very conscious. They're very conscious. I know a lot of those people working in J1 and in Parliament. These guys don't know how to even open a computer. But our young people are politically conscious. They are out there on WhatsApp group. They are out there on Facebook. They are out there, consuming information. They might not know how to speak English, but they are consuming the right information. And the time is ready now. This is the correct time for them to come out and show these older people that we are here and we are ready to take our country forward. So let us not. Those are just conspiracies of people who want to derail the good work that is going on. It's just a minor thing. We will just disregard them, and we continue with what we are planning to do. And again, if the country, if the government thinks that our people are so not very smart, then why do you deploy tanks in the streets? If the message, they will not understand the message that we are telling them. Why do you deploy tanks on the street? Just just ignore us and let's go onto the street, and you will see how long it will take for Salva and his cronies to be in power. So we are a smart population. We are a conscious population. We are switched on. Our young people are switched on, and the time is right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jonkur, may I add something on this?
Sure. Yeah, something you can add before I have a question here to Ustaz Rajab Mohandes. Go ahead.
The notion that the South Sudanese citizens are not politically conscious enough to make change and revolution in the country is not true. When I look at it as it is coming from the intellectual, South Sudanese intellectual, it is meant to discourage the people of South Sudan. It is meant to frustrate them, not to go to the street to demonstrate against the government. The people of South Sudan are politically conscious enough, and this political consciousness was there since long time ago, since 1880s. When you recall our history, the history of the people of South Sudan, you will find that they have been politically conscious long time ago. Yesterday, I touched some point on this. We said that our chiefs and the kings fought the foreign powers that invaded the Sudan in 1821 until 1930. You could now look for that period, a very long period of time. Great kings like Agada Akwe Sham fought against the foreign powers. Great kings like Budwe of the Azande fought against the foreign powers that invaded the country. The people of Fashoda in 1898 fought against the English, and they fought against the French people that invaded Fashoda that time. So what is being said by South Sudanese intellectuals, that South Sudanese are not politically conscious enough to make revolution, it does not make sense. We are all a witness to the history. In 1955, the Anyanya was started. That was an indication of political consciousness. South Sudanese went to the bush to fight against the successive regimes. The same thing was done again in 1983, all along the way until 2005, when the Comprehensive Peace Agreement was signed. And when the January 9, 2011 came, the South Sudanese consciously vote for the independence of their own country. These are indications of political consciousness in the Republic of South Sudan. So those who are telling us that the citizens are not conscious enough to make change are not right, and they will never be right. To conclude this point, because we don't want to repeat it more and more, I would like to recommend a book written about this subject. The book is called The Consciousness of Political, it is called The Genesis of Political Consciousness in South Sudan. This book is written by veteran journalist, and former MP Arop Madud Arop. So people should look for this book. I repeat the name of the book. It is called The Genesis of Political Consciousness in South Sudan. It is available on the Amazon. And the book was published in London. People can look for this book and they can read it, and they will see how conscious South Sudanese have been since long time ago. It is a very good documentation of how South Sudanese have been politically conscious. Thank you.
Thank you, Ustaz Dengdid Al-Yog, for elaboration and that point. Ustaz Rajab Mohandes, back to you one more time. The PCCA and other non-violent political organizations are accused of inciting South Sudanese to die. Central Equatoria State Governor Emmanuel Adil Anthony said this yesterday. According to report on one of the newspaper in Juba as well, we wanted to get your intake here on this.
Well, this is quite unfortunate. We have witnessed many demonstrations in the country. About a week ago, there was a big demonstration in Awil against UNISFA, the United Nations African Union mission in Abyei. And there has been an accusation that they have been tampering with the border and extending to South Sudan, and so the people marched out and demonstrated. We have witnessed several demonstrations in Juba, and most of these demonstrations are obviously sponsored by the government against, for example, the UN and others. Now, why should demonstrations sponsored by the government not cause people to die, but when citizens decide that they should also demonstrate the same way, then it is said that this is a mobilization for people to die? As I mentioned earlier, if there is going to be any death or any harm, it will definitely only come from those holding guns in the towns where people are going to demonstrate. And so it explains why one would then deploy heavy machinery in town, when people say they want to demonstrate. These demonstrations are peaceful. And so these conspiracies of saying when people demonstrate they are going to die is completely unacceptable. We have not seen people dying in the demonstrations that the government has been organizing against the UN, and the latest one against UNISFA in Awil. So there is no one who is going to die when people march out and say the situation in the country should change. Well, we have tried everything we could. We have talked, we have participated in the peace process, the national dialogue, and engagements with these parties, really trying to call for them to listen to the voices of reason and to fix the country. But no one has listened to all these voices. And that is why all these different non-violent forces felt that it is now important for the sovereignty of the people to be invoked as provided for in the Constitution, that they should peacefully demonstrate to raise the profile of the situation and demand that the situation should change. So that's simply what people are trying to do. And actually, to be honest, we are South Sudanese. We are one people. There is need for us to listen to ourselves.
Yes.
People have been raising all these concerns. When citizens were given the chance to talk, when the president felt that the agreements that they were bringing from Addis Ababa were imposed on them, and they wanted the people to speak, people spoke. People have spoken. It is good to listen to the voices of the people. But now, honestly, if your people are suffering, they are leaving the country in their millions, they are dying all the time. Over half of them, half of the population is dependent on humanitarian assistance. There are no roads, people cannot move in between. The whole government, national government, is stuck at the national capital. What is this symbolizing? If you are serious about the country and the future of the country, and you are concerned about the people, you would actually think honestly, that this situation should be improved and that people should dialogue. Now we are calling for peaceful means of addressing this situation, and we demand to be understood as such. We honestly demand to be understood as such. We do not accept these falsifications of labeling the peaceful demonstration as incitement. This is not incitement. People are tired, and no one is going to accept to continue in this situation. Enough is enough. With a few citizens taking all the resources of this country to feed their children outside the country and amass wealth and resources outside the country, while the rest of the citizens suffer without schools, without health, without services, the roads, and all these kind of things. So this is just unacceptable, and we are just taking up the simple demand that we want this situation to change. We have seen the efforts exerted before. People used violence, people went to the bush, people have been fighting, and all these have been resulting into bloodshed. So we are saying enough with the bloodshed. We do not want to see more bloodshed in our country, and we should do things peacefully. Now, when we come out peacefully to sit down on the street or at the mausoleum or in whichever place we choose to sit, we do not expect people to come with violence. I remember at our independence, the first speech of the president during, the speech of the president during independence, he said, our detractors have written us off. They say our concept of democracy is false, that we cannot resolve our conflicts through dialogue. We are quick to resort to violence. And they have said we have failed as a country even before our flag is hoisted. That's what the president said during independence. And they said it was upon us to prove them wrong. Did we prove them wrong? Now, when we deploy forces and we do not want to listen to ourselves, to the voices that come from our citizens, it means it is true that we do not use dialogue to understand ourselves. It also means that we are quick to resort to violence because we are using weapons to threaten civilians, you know. And so that's the situation where we are. If our leaders would understand, they would actually feel, be proud that the citizens are using peaceful means to demand that the situation in the country should change. Thank you.
Thank you, Ustaz Raja Mohandes. It is quite interesting too, you know, from these people are saying that the political organization, non-violent political organization are the one that planning for people to die, while they don't see, you know, the ethnic division that was created by this regime. As we speak now in Warabi State, people are dying. Awan and Agua and Luanjang, they are killing themselves. And no one from those people who are saying that you should not demonstrate because people are going to die are raising a question. People are dying in Lake State. People are dying everywhere in Central Equatoria in big number, and they are not asking this question. Sometimes it's level of high hypocrisy, you know, in its nature, the way I see it. Yeah. So
if I can just chime in there for 1 minute.
Okay. I want you actually to weigh in and Dr. Matur to weigh in as well. Go ahead and weigh in at the same question that I asked Ustaz Raja Mohandes.
Exactly. So if we were for violence, there were so many options out there in the South Sudanese political scene for us to be violent. You know, we could have gone with IO, we could have gone with SOF, we could have gone with NAS, you know. But why did we form this coalition? Why did we come and work together? Is because we don't believe in violence. You know, we have reiterated many times, especially in the RCM, that our members will not throw not even one stone. It is out there that all these demonstrations that happen against dictators, it is actually the government that sponsors elements to go in and disrupt these peaceful protests. You know, it happened in Tahrir Square in Egypt. You know, where Hosni Mubarak got some camel herders, they came in and they caused chaos. Same with Sudan. So it is not us who are saying we are peaceful are the problem. It is the government that we know will sponsor people to be violent. So if they do not want violence, why deploy the army of all things? Why deploy the army, you know, against your own citizens? You know, you could deploy the police to keep the rule and order. You know, so the government knows something we don't. You know, we have come out clearly. Our charter and our communique indicates that we are non-violent, and yet the government brings out tanks. Tanks. You know, why does the government bring out tanks if they don't anticipate to do something with those tanks? Number two, Michael Makunilweb said that the government of South Sudan does not have rubber bullets and water cannons, that they only have live bullets. Surely, isn't that a threat to our people, that the government will cause violence against them? You know, So this is a question for the government to answer, because they are the ones who have had a track record. They are the ones who are saying things that are violent. All we are going to go out there is papers and pens and placards, nothing else. No stone will be touched. Nothing, any business owner, we can assure you that our people, when they go out there, they're going to demand their rights. Our people are not thieves. We know it across the world. Our people don't go to steal, People, citizens, the older citizens, we can assure you that the young people that will go out there will not cause chaos. They're going to go out with papers, placards, and shouting. That's the only aggression we will bring. We will bring the aggression of our voices. No guns, no stones, and nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you. Ustaz Dengit, if I can get you to add your point there, and I will go to Dr. Matur Gak as well.
Well, I consider this one also to be another mechanism for discouraging the people of South Sudan not to go out to street, to demonstrate and change the course of history for a better future for their children and for the children of their children and the generations to come. The people of South Sudan know what has happened with this regime, and they are fully aware that this regime is taking us nowhere. So those who are accusing us, the non-violent political forces that are seeking regime change, to be inciting South Sudanese to go and die, I don't think this is true. South Sudanese are capable to change the current status quo and have a bright future. I can assure everyone who is saying that we are not capable, we are capable. And what we are doing here is not incitement. What we are doing here is that we would like to cross this dark point so that we go to the bright future. We relaunch the South Sudan into the promised land of justice, equality, and prosperity, development, so that we turn South Sudan into an economic zone where economy is growing, where people are secure, where life is to our satisfaction. We are changing, we are calling for the people of South Sudan to take out to streets in order to change the current status quo. So those who are saying that we are inciting people in order to go out so that they die are trying to discourage the people of South Sudan. You know, we believe that the people of South Sudan are the power that can change this regime, because it was the people that was used in 1955 to fight. It was the people that was used in 1983 to fight. It was the people that was that voted in 2011 in order for us to have this country independent as it is today. So today, the country is messed up. It is the same people that have to come together and change the regime so that we can realize our aspirations and our ambitions and our collective dreams as the people of South Sudan. This is not incitement. It is for the betterment of the people of South Sudan. Of course, those who have their own interests with this current regime are using this in order to discourage the people, because they have their own interests and they don't want those interests to come to an end. Because whoever have interest with this regime, soon after the regime is changed, all those interests would come to an end. And that's why they are using this. And they are trying to instill fear into the citizens of South Sudan not to take part in the demonstration. But we are here calling on the people to take part in peaceful demonstration on the National Awakening Day, which is coming very soon. So, dear people of South Sudan, we are the power that can change the current status quo in the country. We are the one to be the masters of our own destiny. If we don't do it, no one would come from outside and do it for us. History has proved that we did it in the Anyanya, we did it in the SPLM, SPLA, we did it in the referendum, and we can do it again. It is possible and it can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Sas Dengdira York, for elaboration. And my dear brother, Dr. Matur Gak, I want to give you that opportunity to weigh in as well before I move on to my big last question here to everyone.
Yeah, thank you. Look, the issue of violence, I think we need to be very clear, and my brothers, they elaborated on it very well. Look, violence can only produce violence, and that's the nature. And there were so many options, and I think my brother mentioned it. It's not difficult for us to take up arms. We can go to the bush. The bush is not limited to some individuals. It belongs to everybody. And the bush is around South Sudan, is everywhere. So it's not difficult for us. It wasn't difficult for us to do that, to go that option. But we said it's not the right option. Some of our brothers did it, as we mentioned it earlier. And they went to the bush, they rebelled. And the irony is here. Look, when you rebelled, like Dr. Riek Machar and the rest who rebelled, they've been received back to Juba with this so-called peace agreement, and they are placed on top positions in the country. Why the people, the very people who violated law and rebelled, they took up arms against their own government. This is the irony here. Those who rebel with guns to fight the government, they are respected. And they negotiated an open with them so that they can come back to the government. The government they were fighting against. This is the irony in South Sudan. And that's why there is so many rebellions everywhere. Because you cannot be recognized unless you take up arms, you go to the bush, and then you find your way back to the government. How long are we going to do that? That's not acceptable. We should give the power to the people and not to the warlords. Look, as we mentioned earlier, when we came to this option, it was the last resort. We've given our leaders the benefit of the doubt since the independence, so that they can put the things in order and move this country forward. But instead, they created war, as we mentioned. War now, from war to peace to war, peace to extension to this. So this is the cycle, a vicious cycle, endless vicious cycle. So that's why we cannot wait indefinitely for the people who are not serious to move this country forward. For the people who are just love being in office and not doing anything. How long are we going to wait with the people of South Sudan? That's why we said this is the last resort. 10 years is very long. They should have put things in order, stop the wars, and then begin developing this country. As is mentioned earlier, saying all the time we are a new nation will not help us. Because when the country was announced in 2011, we had the intellectuals, numbers, I don't know exactly numbers, but we had professors, we had from all fields, doctors, engineers, economists, and you name it. They were ready to be put to use so that they develop their country, but nobody is caring about that. Nobody is asking them. Instead, the people are employed, the people not qualified, the people who belongs to relatives to the people in charge. So it's become a family issue, family affair. That's not right. This country belongs to everybody. And they've forgotten about everything. Look, there is encroachment. I think Brother Roger mentioned this earlier. Our country is being encroached from every corner. Being Kenya here, being Uganda, being Sudan. So it's being cut bit by bit. And that's not right. To the sovereignty of the country, we must protect the territorial integrity of our country. We cannot let anybody to walk around and cut any chunk or piece of our land without any questions. The question of ABA has been left unsettled up to now, and that's a shame on our people. This is a national issue, should have been addressed, because these people are South Sudanese. And we cannot leave that and say, look, this issue belongs to ABA people. That's not right. Leadership, you look after everybody in the country, and every territory, every bit, every piece of land must be preserved. We question everybody who taken part of our lands, and we can even use force. This is where force is accepted, because we need to protect our territories, we need to protect our people, the security of our people, and we need to protect our land. That's why you are put up there as a leader, as a leadership, so that you look after the affairs of your nation. But if you're not doing all this as a system or as a governance, you have failed your country, and that's what happened. And we cannot wait indefinitely, and we cannot expect anybody from anywhere, as been mentioned, to come and change things for us. This is our task. We're the people of this country, and we can do it peacefully. We don't want our country to be taken over by foreigners. We are capable. This has been mentioned, and I would like to emphasize this. We are very capable people, and we can run our own affairs. We cannot be a trustee under the UN, United Nations, or who else ever there. We are proud South Sudanese who are capable to run their own affairs, provided they have the right leadership to lead them.
Thank you, Dr. Matur Gak, for elaboration. And last and not least, Stas Raja Mohandis, I would like to ask this question to you and to all the colleagues on the studio. What is the message to the organized forces, especially the police, military police, and military intelligences, and security and national army, as SPDF, as we shall be marching for the National Awakening Day on August 30th, 2021. This is very important. Please, start with you,
Okay.
Mohandis.
Yes. Oh, good. Oh, thank you. Well, the first message is that there should be no violence and there should be no bloodshed in our country. Number one, they should not use the weapons and all the equipment in their possession to cause harm to their fellow citizens, who are within their constitutional rights, simply demanding that the situation in the country should change. They are calling for an end to the war. They are calling for an end to the suffering. They are calling for improvement in the security situation so that our displaced people will go home. They are calling for reasonable salaries for the civil servants and for all the organized forces. And so there is no reason to use force against them. These are relatives of the people of our forces. Their sons, their daughters, and their wives, brothers and sisters to these soldiers. And these soldiers should not be used to unleash violence on the civil population. Number two, the forces should know, the security forces should know that the civilians or the civil population is speaking for them, for them who are in uniform, because they cannot speak for themselves. They will be punished if they do so. Now the citizens are coming out to speak for the country and for everyone, that it is within the law and they should not unleash violence against them, and that this situation we have gone through must change. and it's a collective responsibility. And that this is coming after people have given enough chances for the political leaders to change the situation in the country, but this situation is not changing. And so it is important for us at this point to consider that 10 years of independence that has been wasted is enough, and we cannot afford to have another wasted 10 years. We should all accept to join hands to end this situation and have a new transitional arrangement that stabilizes our country and improves the conditions for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for staying late there to continue with this very important discussion. Dr. Matur Gak, the podium was you. The same question.
Yeah, look, we need to reassure our people that we are part of the society, we are part of the community of the South Sudanese. We are frustrated citizens, like everybody there, because the government is not serious looking after our own affairs. And that's why we need to make a decision. We say enough is enough. We don't want this to drag on that long again, to another 10 years, has been mentioned, or longer. It's not right. We need to put this house in order, because this land has killed our people. So many people's lives have been lost through the liberation struggles, from Nyanya, from the SPLM, SPLA. So many people died. And our people are still suffering now, even after the independence. So this country must be moved to the next level. And the next level of prosperity is where our people will get the dividends of their liberation. They hardly want liberation and independence. They need the dividends in form of services, all sort of services, prosperity, and so that we become part of this global nation. Because now we are being looked at down by all the neighbors and everybody. This is not the time our people should be still in the refugee camps, back in Uganda or in Kenya or in Sudan, in Ethiopia or elsewhere. It's not right. This is not time. Some of our family members should be in the UNMISS camp, but including Juba, the capital city, and other towns across the nation. That's not right. This is a country everybody should have been free by now. Development should have been massively underway. We understand that we cannot be America the same on one day, but there must be a process in place. There must be security, guns. Our citizens should not be carrying guns. That should stop. Yeah, because if we don't have security, we cannot talk even about development. So the insecurity must stop. Guns must be collected from everybody, and then we put children to schools. We build proper schools and hospitals so that our people can work. We provide jobs. We open the country for investment so that the private sector can grow and employ people as well. So this is a work that needs a lot of effort and need people who are committed with the vision. It is very important to have the vision. How you're going to move your people in 10 years, in 20 years, so that we know, oh, this is the leadership has got a plan. In 5 years, we'll be at this level. It's 10 years now, and we are still going backwards. So that's not the leadership we want. The leadership with a vision to take our country to the next level. A united country where the people are equal. There is nothing called tribalism. There is nothing called, there is no nepotism or so on. This is a country of individuals where people are free. And you can exercise any rights according as enshrined in the Constitution. This country can accommodate all of us if we have the right leadership, and we are a very wealthy nation. Wealthy nation, we have a lot of minerals. Some are not being even used yet. we can do wonders in that land. So that's why we need peace. We need change. First thing is change. When the change comes, we need peace. No guns circulating everywhere across our nation, not from different areas or different states. Across the nation. That will be number one, and that will bring democracy so that the people can come up with projects and programs and let the people vote them into government so that they can serve them and be held accountable by the people. So there are a few steps, things to be done, and it is a duty. It's incumbent upon us, we the citizens of this country, so that we organize ourselves, we come up with this. If we are faced with violence, the government will be, the people would know that it's the government that is killing the ordinary peaceful people, citizens that are exercising their rights of protesting. And you cannot tell me that, look, it's too early with people in a divided country, we cannot come and do the peaceful protest. Why not? It is possible. It is, this is a scary mongering. We cannot do that. We can do it, provided that we get organized, we get our people to listen, we have a clear message like what we're doing now, that it must be peaceful, and we are against any violence. So this one is possible, and we can bring change and open a new page to our country for reconciliation, because our people are badly divided, reconciliation and unity among our people, and put to history this thing called tribalism, and move to the next, in the next 21st century, as a civilized nation, people that are united, people that are looking after each other, and the level of education. Look, our people, someone mentioned it there, the level of education of our people is very low, but it will be solved, it will be done, provided that we have a program in place where the kids are all educated, the adult education is provided, so that education, there is no age limit for education. You could be educated until you are 80 or 90. So it needs just a program to be in place, and the money to be used rightfully for the services of the people, and not to be squandered by few in their own private accounts while the people are suffering. That's not right.
Thank you, Dr. Matur Gag. I really appreciate you. Saz Mabor Tut, I want to give you also, give us your last word on that, and then I will move to Dengira York, and then we close from there.
Yeah. Yeah, so my message to the men and women who proudly wear our uniform, especially the young and junior officers who are my age. We have heard your suffering. We know how much you're suffering. You have to walk all the way from Jebel to Bilpam because you don't have enough salary. Your children don't go to good schools because you don't have enough salary. Your wives have to go hungry with your babies because you don't have enough salary. Rajab narrated me a story of a soldier who he was speaking with, and he asked him, you know, where's your wife? Oh, when was the last time you got paid? And this individual did not have an idea when the last time he got paid. He doesn't know when the last time he got paid. That is not good. Rajab asked him again, where's your wife and children? He said, I had to send them to the village because I cannot support them. That is injustice. You fought for us for 21 years, and we supported you. The civilians supported you while you were fighting for us. This time we are fighting for you. This is a fight for your rights, for your salary, for your pension. Look at your friends who have, your colleagues who have got injured, you know, the wounded heroes. They are basically beggars on the street. Look at the children of the orphans of those people that died in battle. They are also beggars in the street. If we don't change Salva Kiir's government, this is going to be your fate. This is going to be the fate of your children. We don't want you to die and then your children become street children. We don't want you to get hurt and you don't have a pension. You don't have a good hospital. You know, when Salva Kiir and all those top guys, when they get sick, they are not going to get a hospital. No, they are going outside the country. Their children are safe outside the country. So we are fighting for you. We need your help. We need your help so that we can bring a very good future for our people. We have oil. We have gold that is being smuggled out of our country and goes to people's pockets. Simple things like your uniform is virtually non-existent. You have to, I've seen people, videos of soldiers in battle with slippers on, no proper boots, going hungry. So that's to the junior officers. We are fighting for you and you need to support us in this fight. To the senior officers who fought for 21 hard years in the bush, your legacy is being ruined as we speak. What you fought for is not being followed. Salva Kiir and the people in J1 have totally diverted your brilliant ideology and thrown it into the bin. You need to save your legacy. Because if it doesn't happen, it has already been tarnished by Salva Kiir. For you to gain regain your legacy, for you to come back into your glory days, you need to support us in changing this government. And we will make sure that your legacies are intact, and we will not bring in people that were enemies, that were fighting against you, to come and rule over you. How disrespectful is that? Your once enemy comes to the country that they disdain so much to come and rule over you. You need to support us to bring this nonsense to an end. It will not happen without your support. The only way for this to succeed is for you to support us. And how can you support us? You can drop your gun that day and come and join us on the street. That is one way you can support us. How else can you support us? Don't shoot at innocent people who are fighting for your rights. Just two simple things. That's all we want. Don't shoot us. Put down your gun and come and protest. Come and protest in your uniform as well, so that we can send a strong message that you are also pissed off the way we are pissed off. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mabor. These are very touching words, and they are listening and they will hear this message. This is fight for them and for all and for generation to come. Ustaz Dengdi Ayog, your last word as well. Go ahead.
I would like to tell the people of South Sudan that we have diagnosed the problem of our country, and we have come together as non-violent political forces with our efforts unified to bring about the change that is so much needed in our new republic. After we diagnose the problem of South Sudan, we summarize it in 4 points. Number one, mismanagement of the state affairs by the current regime. You can put it into 2 brackets, or between the bracket as leadership failure. And it is the same thing that came in the national dialogue. Number 2, corruption in all government institutions. and in the national dialogue, it is described as grand corruption. Number 3, lack of basic services for civil population all over the country. And number 4, insecurity. The SPLM endless war, the deadly war of political struggle, power struggle between the leaders of the SPLM. Thousands of people have died as a result. And there is also a persistent insecurity in the rural areas as the civil population is engaged in communal violence. These 4 evils are the fundamental evils that the country is suffering from, and they reflect the true nature of this inept, corrupt government that President Kiir is running. And there are many other evils, such as ethnic divisions. These are the 4 fundamental evils that we stand against, seeking the regime change in order to bring about a South Sudan free of these 4 evils. A democratic South Sudan where elections are periodically and timely conducted to elect the leaders and the representative of the people at all levels. A South Sudan where political freedoms, which are now denied, are guaranteed to all citizens. A South Sudan where human rights are respected and basic services for the civil populations are provided. A peaceful South Sudan where a lion and a lamb shall lie down together and none shall be afraid. We are active non-violent forces working for change through non-violent method. However, we are not calling for bloodshed in the country. We are not calling for chaos as some other people understand it. We are talking about the bright day of tomorrow, the day when justice, liberty, and prosperity will engulf the entire country. And we will once again be proud and say that this is the country our fathers, our forefathers, our uncles, our brothers have fought hard to liberate. This is what we are doing, dear people of South Sudan. This is what we are doing, and we are calling upon you to join in order to end the era of corruption and bring in a new era of democracy and political pluralism in the light of current crisis of leadership failure in our country, which has resulted into total betrayal of the martyrs, which has totally resulted into disillusionment, suffering, death, displacements of our people internally and externally. While some of them are forced to seek refuge internally, and some others are seeking refuge in the neighboring countries. As non-violent political forces seeking change in the Republic of South Sudan, we are working very hard to restore the blasted hopes and the shattered dreams of the people of South Sudan, in collaboration as one body, in order to bring an end to this regime through civic actions. So, my dear brothers, you ought to join us. To the organized forces, I would like to say this, that our people shall be marching on the 30th of this month in the streets of Juba and in the streets of other major towns in the country. My message to you is that these people who will go to the street to march for change are the nation that you have those guns to protect. My message to you is that please don't shoot a single bullet at them, because the moment you shoot them, you are shooting the nation that you have vowed to protect, because our national anthem says we vow to protect our nation. So those who will be marching in the street of Juba are the nation that you have taken oath to protect. These are the people for which you have been given those guns to protect the territory of the Republic of South Sudan. Stand with your people, because you are too suffering. My brothers have already pointed out that you lack salary, that you are destitute, that you are living in abject poverty, that you don't know if you die today whether this regime will take care of your wives and your children. So stand with your people. Don't shoot them. Show solidarity with them. Be patriotic. In the end, I would like to quote the Holy Bible. In the book of Proverbs 29, verse 2, the Bible says, when the righteous reign, the people rejoice. When the wicked rule, the people groan. This is what happened in the Republic of South Sudan. The righteous here are the right people, the people who do right things. The Bible is saying that when they are in power, when they are in government, the people rejoice. And then the contrast is that when the wicked rule, the people groan. Those who are in power in Juba are the wicked. They are wicked because we have seen their wickedness in corruption, in exercising the policy of a non-gunman, divisions, ethnic divisions. And as a result, our people are groaning. Our people are not happy. People are crying in South Sudan. So it is a high time for us as a people to come collectively, civilians and soldiers, to end the suffering and the sadness and the groaning of our people in this country, so that we bring about a new South Sudan. A new South Sudan of justice, freedom, equality, and prosperity. A South Sudan that would be turned into an economic zone. A South Sudan that would be stable and tranquil. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, on the studio. With that, we would like to conclude. Thanks to viewers of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. We conducted this very important live broadcast tonight with the representative of various political movements who are working tirelessly to bring change through a non-violent uprising in our beloved country, the Republic of South Sudan. I have no any other word to express. Everything has been said already in the program. Thank you, Ustaz Raja Mohandis of the People Coalition for Civil Action. And also thanks to Ustaz Dengida Ayog of United Citizens for Change. And thanks for Ustaz Mabor Tut of Red Card Movement. And also Dr. Matur Gak of NPM. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for being part of Concerned Citizen of South Sudan. May God bless you and protect you and bless our country and bless everyone who has been supportive of this humble forum. Thank you so much. Have a lovely night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
المادة يقدم شاب. أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا للبسط. أبقى راجل ونكون وطني وتقول لا لا للمادة يقدم شاب. قول لا لو يهود بيشيل بطور يشيل غدا ويشيل عجام. أبقى راجل وتقول لا لا وتبقى جاب. قول لا لو يهود بيشيل بطور ويشيل غدا ويشيل عجام. أبقى راجل وتقول لا لا